If you know what you should be doing, but you're not doing it and you're struggling with motivation, then hopefully this video can help you. My name is Elijah Murray and I've built over 26 software products. I'm a serial tech entrepreneur. I sold my first company at 26. I've also built and bootstrapped an agency with over 7 figures in revenue. These are some of the things that have helped me in getting started when I'm feeling stuck. I've struggled throughout my entire life with getting started and figuring out where to get started. The biggest problem is I always think I need to have a better plan. I need to know exactly what I should be doing. I need to know where I should start. And so I kind of spiral and get overwhelmed with all this work that needs to happen, and I don't necessarily know exactly where to do it or what's efficient or what's most effective. The problem with this thinking is that it's all bullshit. Your mind is naturally going to try to come up with excuses for things that it doesn't want to do. And the mind wants to conserve energy, so it tries to avoid hard work. It tries to avoid hard things, especially if you're already okay and you're trying to start a business. Well, you don't need to start the business, right? There's no kind of forcing function. So your brain is naturally going to come up with different excuses to say, hey, we shouldn't do this. We need to have a better plan, or we need to know more, or we need to research more. We need to watch more YouTube videos before we actually get started. This is all fake. What is actually real is that you just need to get started. The problem with that feedback or that advice of just do it or eat the frog or no pain, no gain is that it puts you in an adversarial mindset versus your mind, and it comes down to willpower. If you have enough willpower, then you'll do it. But often we're spending our willpower on a bunch of different things throughout our day and throughout our lives. So we end up with this situation where we don't have enough willpower to put them into our goals and into long-term progress. The tactic that has helped me the most is reframing it by saying, let's start in the middle. What do I mean by this? We typically think we need to start at the beginning of something, right? We need to kind of know where to start so that we can do the best work and then have the completed product. In reality, our brains don't work that way. In order to do that, you have to have the full plan. You need to know what the beginning is. If you reframe it as starting in the middle, it lowers the barrier to entry so that you can just start. Starting in the middle, an example, right? So what is an example of starting in the middle? I wanted to start a podcast for years. I put it off. I knew what I needed to do, record videos, talk to people, and publish, but I didn't know exactly how I should do it. What should it be named? How was I going to publish it? Who are my guests going to be? And eventually I ended up just saying, you know what? I'm just going to start. I'm going to start in the middle. So what did I need to do? Well, I needed to be able to record. How was I going to record? I had an iPhone. Okay, check. That part is done. I needed to get episodes out. Who could I talk to? Well, let me talk to my best friend and have him be the first guest. I recorded my first episode without any script, without any real plan as to where it was going to go and what the name of the podcast was going to be. I didn't even name the podcast until 2 or 3 weeks later after I had edited the first episode and released it. These are the types of things where you think you need to have the full plan mapped out, but you can actually just start working. You can just start in the middle. And then as you start doing it, you're going to find more ways to be more efficient, more effective, and drive more value for what you're doing. The counter argument to this is, well, isn't that sloppy? Isn't that inefficient because maybe you're going to do the wrong thing or you're going to start on something that isn't important? But the problem that we're solving is starting. We are not solving the problem of how to start most effectively. We're not trying to solve the problem of where to be most efficient with your time. We're not solving the problem of how do you perfect whatever that goal, building that startup, doing whatever that thing is. We're just trying to get started. And so by lowering the barrier to entry and just saying, let me start in the middle, it unblocks you from having these expectations of yourself that what you do needs to be a good result. One of the examples that I really like about this as well is from Mark Manson's book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And in it, he talks about how we think about taking action. The typical way we think about this is that once we feel inspired, then we will feel motivated. And when we feel motivated, we will do that thing that we want to do. We will take that action, right? We think it's inspiration, motivation, action. The reality is it's actually a circle. You can start at any one of those steps, and then the other aspects will follow. You could say start with motivation. If you feel motivated, then you'll take action. When you take action, then you feel more inspired, so you have more motivation, right? It's a circle. You can't control inspiration, and you can't really control motivation. So the trick is to actually just start with action. That is the thing that you can control. Any action that works towards your goal will help you feel more inspired, to give you more motivation to keep going, to take more action. It's a positive feedback loop that you just need to start, and you need to start at the part where you can start. There's no beginning. You just need to start. That's another framing of the same type of concept of starting in the middle that has been so effective and so helpful for me in getting over that hump and just starting whatever I need to do. The second tactic that I want to talk about that is extremely helpful, I haven't really found anyone else talking about it, is what I call negative time boxing. So time boxing is limiting the amount of time that you can put into something, and I use it as a negative incentive for whatever task I want to achieve. What does this mean? We often are overwhelmed when we're about to start something, whether it's homework or it's writing a book or it's starting a company, whatever this big project, this big North Star and goal that you have is, we think it's this very overwhelming, high effort task. And so we want to be resistant to that because it's, again, a lot of effort that we don't want to expend. If you can lower that effort level and you force yourself to put less effort in, you feel more comfortable with doing it. How does that work? Well, you figure out the minimum amount of time that you can consistently put into that effort. Let's take an example. Going to the gym. We think about going to the gym as being 30 minutes or an hour, 3 times a week, something to that effect, right? We think it's a commitment. You need to put a fair amount of effort in, otherwise you're not going to get the results. Well, if we reframe the problem as how do we start and how do we just keep going, we can then change it from, rather than doing a solid 30 minutes or solid 60 minutes and burning 300 calories or whatever type of goal that you want to have, we can say, hey, can you go to the gym 3 times a week for 5 minutes? And do whatever is the easiest thing possible, right? You could do 5 minutes walking on the treadmill. Whatever that minimum effort is that you consistently do, that will get you over the hurdle of starting. And so what you end up happening is, say you want to work on a side business, right? You're going to do it nights and weekends, but it takes so much time and you're always putting it off because it's a long day at the office. If you say, hey, can I just put in 5 minutes, or can I put in 10 minutes after work, just 10 minutes every single day or 5 days a week or whatever goal you want to set, it makes it so that you give yourself permission to stop after 10 minutes. And in fact, you should enforce stopping at that 10-minute mark or whatever threshold that you set for yourself. This will build the muscle of consistency and consistent effort into the task, into the goal. So it's not about making meaningful progress. It's not about making and achieving those goals. It's about setting yourself up so that you can start and you don't spend another couple years putting off that thing that you want to do. The other thing too is when you enforce not going above that time threshold, when you stick to that, it actually starts building up this emotion inside of you of wanting to put in more, and you need to resist that. It's counterintuitive. If I feel like putting in 2 hours, then I should do 2 hours, right? No, you want to let that pressure build and build and build. So if you are just doing 10 minutes a day and working on your side hustle, if you go a week and you're doing that every single day, you're going to want to start putting in more time. You're going to want to start putting in more time because you feel like you're making progress. You're feeling more motivated. You're feeling more inspired. If you resist that pressure, it's going to build. And now you're, instead of feeling like you're being dragged and pulled into doing the work, you actually are motivated and excited to do it. And then you can start ratcheting up that threshold and have that consistency with it as well. So it shifts your perspective from this being this big, awful, scary, it's going to take so much time work. You change the constraints. You don't define success as the business is launched and it's making money and I've quit my job. You define it as, have I put in my 10 minutes per day in doing this? You actually see this design pattern in many different applications, Duolingo being an example of them, where they try to set the bar very low for how much effort. 5 minutes is their baseline for how much studying you should do per day, but they try to reward consistency over time through streaks and coming back. And it drives better adoption, lowers the effort that you need to put in, but in the long run, you get better results. These are the 2 tactics that have helped me achieve a lot of success and also just get started in general. The success comes later. You get better at the task over time, but getting started is often the biggest barrier for me, at least, with doing whatever I want to do and trying to actually make meaningful progress towards my goals. If you found this video helpful and you think it might help someone else, click the like button to let the algorithm know. If you think my channel deserves more than 378 subscribers, feel free to subscribe. And if you think I suck and I can do better, leave a comment below letting me know why. Thanks for stopping by, and catch you in the next one.